Greater Media Broadcast News.
Welcome to another edition of Greater Media Broadcast News. I'm Susie Shia, bringing you the top headlines in Central New Jersey. Here are some of the stories we're covering this week. Former mayor faces federal charges. The month of fortune. Making love last. Stopping crime one community member at a time. And a lead smelting company gets into trouble. A former Manalapan mayor is facing federal charges. Andrew Lucas has been accused of using falsified tax returns to obtain a loan for the purchase of a farm in Manalapan. In 2009, he allegedly provided false information to a bank when he requested more than $500,000 to purchase the 97-acre Burke farm. Lucas bought the property in 2010 and later sold its development rights to the state for $1.2 million. He did not enter a plea in the initial court appearance. For more on the case, see this week's editions of Greater Media newspapers. And here's Mark Rosman with more headlines from this week's papers.
Freehold Township and Saker Enterprises are planning to work together on a plan that will see the redevelopment of the South Freehold Shopping Center on Route 9 in Freehold Township. Local residents may know the shopping center as the ShopRite Shopping Center. It's been located in Freehold Township for more than 40 years. Recently, the Township Committee designated the property as an area in need of redevelopment, and a planner is now developing a new vision for the property. While Freehold Township officials remain in control of the redevelopment, they say that they want to work with executives of Saker Enterprises to come up with some new ideas for the venerable shopping center. A full report on this plan can be read in this week's news transcript.
A lead smelting company has been ordered to clean up its mess. Here's Tom Castles.
It's been almost 5 years since officials with the Environmental Protection Agency closed down Old Bridge Waterfront Park after finding high concentrations of lead, a potent neurotoxin, in the nearby Raritan Bay. Parkgoers may have something to look forward to in the future, though, as the EPA announced that NL Industries, the successor to the company that allegedly deposited lead slag material in the bay almost 50 years ago, is responsible for cleaning up the contaminated area. If they don't, they could face fines of more than $200 million. Cleanup costs are estimated at around $79 million, but NL Industries is fighting to make sure responsibility is assumed by all parties they claim were involved in dumping lead into the bay. According to NL Industries spokesman, that list includes the Township of Old Bridge and several other independent firms. As the story develops, tune into Greater Media Broadcast News for more.
We may learn a lot more about the renowned inventor Thomas Edison after a new publication is released. Here's Jessica D'Amico.
A team of Rutgers scholars is in the midst of the ultimate research paper. Culling information from 5 million documents, the researchers are about halfway through the project known as the Thomas Edison Papers. More than 30 years in the making thus far, the project has yielded 7 volumes with an additional 8 on the way. The books detail the life and prolific career of Thomas Edison. Widely known as the Wizard of Menlo Park, Edison's myriad inventions resulted in more than 1,000 patents and a legacy in key industries. Due to funding cuts, the Edison Papers team needs help in completing the project. For more information or to donate, see this week's edition of The Sentinel or visit edison.rutgers.edu online. Back to you, Susie.
And here's a roundup of headlines from this week's papers. More than 200,000 households benefited from the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program this year. The federal initiative assists low-income households with heating bills and provides system services and fuel assistance. Towns are responding to recently released FEMA flood maps. Sayreville officials may consider appealing changes to the maps, while some in South River say the flood patterns are accurately represented. In Monmouth County, Oceanport officials insist that the elevations aren't high enough. Valentine's Day is upon us, and while some of us may be anticipating the holiday, others are lamenting it. But both groups have asked the age-old question, how do you make love last? To find out how, and for more on any of these stories, see this week's editions of Greater Media newspapers. And here's Mike Pavlichko of Greater Media's WCTC with an update on the Rutgers football team. After that, we have Tim Morris with more on local sports.
National Letter of Intent Signing Day. It's the day high school football players make their decision official as to what college they're going to go to for the upcoming year, and Rutgers unveiled its recruiting class recently. 26 members, 6 early enrollees. The first class that will play its entire 4-year career in the Big Ten starting this fall. Now, whether it's a good recruiting class or not, that kind of depends on who you talk to. Of course, as expected and as he should, Kyle Flood, the Rutgers head coach, says he likes this class a lot. The recruiting experts tend to disagree. They put Rutgers in the bottom half of the Big Ten, not very good nationally. It could have been a much better class. It was actually going to be number 3 in the Big Ten before about a dozen decommits from the Rutgers program for various reasons. But recruiting rankings, I mentioned this last week, are to be taken with a grain of salt. Consider this. Remember Ray Rice? Of course you do. Remember Brian Leonard? Of course you do. Faces of the program, made a name for themselves at Rutgers, went on to great careers in the pros. Neither were among the highest profile Rutgers recruits ever. Among the highest profile, Anthony Davis, now an offensive lineman with the San Francisco 49ers in the NFL. But it can go the other way sometimes too. Savon Huggins, a highly touted recruit here from New Jersey. What happened to him? Well, the last couple of years here at Rutgers, he's failed to hold on to his starting job and almost left the school after this season. He'll be back next year. The class this year includes Sidney Gopri, a linebacker from Wequahic who's pretty good, 2013 Gatorade New Jersey Defensive Player of the Year. And you want a big offensive lineman who can help get Rutgers' ground game going again? Of course you do. How about 6'7", 270-pound offensive lineman Zach Heeman? He's from Bud Lake, New Jersey. Another key point, take a note of the geography. Just like it has been through Greg Schiano's tenure here, it continues with Kyle Flood, a lot of New Jersey and Florida influence. 8 New Jersey players, 7 from Florida, but also 5 members of the class from states with Big Ten schools. We're talking Minnesota, Michigan, and Pennsylvania here, including a transfer from the University of Minnesota, a 2-year starter at quarterback, Philip Nelson. He's already enrolled. He'll be in school for spring practice, and he'll be eligible in 2015. He'll have to sit out this year. So the bottom line is forget the rankings. It's all about how these players develop. 26 new players set to hit the ground running, hopefully literally, in the Big Ten starting this fall. I'm Mike Pavlichko on 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com.
The Central Jersey Indoor Track and Field Meet signaled the start of the state championship season. High school athletes not only competed for state sectional championships, but were looking to move on to the group championships with a top 6 finish at the Bennett Indoor Complex in Toms River. In the girls' Group 4 400 meters, South Brunswick's Desiree Osley outran Freehold Township's Adrian Vitello for the gold. In the girls' 1600-meter run in Group 4, Freehold Township's Kara Roach, wearing number 2, played the waiting game. She followed the leaders throughout until the very last lap, when she threw down the hammer and kicked her way to her first state sectional championship. This clearance won the Group 4 high jump title for Howell's Ian Kirk, who has not been out-jumped all year. It was no surprise to see Middletown North's Tom O'Neill in orange take the lead early in the boys' Group 3 1600, nor to see him by himself at the finish line as he claimed yet another Central Jersey title. In the Group 3 hurdles, Colts Neck's Victoria Samara, in green, medaled. Middletown South's Brianna Haspel just held off Woodbridge's Brittany Gasser to win the Group 3 800. Adrian Vitello won, Emily Breaker 2, and Caitlin Poss, number 4, are 3 of the best 800-meter runners in the state, and they all run for Freehold Township. In this race, Adrian Vitalis runs the fastest 800 meters in the state this year, 2:14.43, followed by Emily Breaker in second. Tim Morris, Greater Media Newspapers.
The T. Thomas Fortune House in Red Bank is one of only 55 National Historic Landmarks in the state, and one of only 2 that highlights African American culture. Fortune, born in Jackson County, Florida in an era of slavery and Civil War Reconstruction, ultimately became one of the most prominent African American journalists and publishers of his time. using his newspapers and editorials to shed light on the injustices and degradation of racial discrimination. Fortune forged alliances with Booker T. Washington and Marcus Garvey and helped spur what would ultimately become the civil rights movement in America. Fortune also co-founded the National Afro-American League, an anti-discrimination organization that served as a forerunner to the modern-day NAACP. The two-story Victorian home on Dr. James Parker Boulevard in Red Bank, which served as Fortune's home in the early 20th century, has fallen into disrepair in recent years, and local advocates and officials have initiated a campaign to save it. In conjunction with Black History Month, Red Bank has declared February T. Thomas Fortune Month in an effort to draw attention to the campaign. In this week's Hub newspaper, we speak to Gilda Rogers, a local writer and member of the T. Thomas Fortune House Project, who is speaking at local schools and universities about Fortune's historical impact and the need to preserve the cultural landmark. We also speak to project manager Peter Primavera, who says the group is trying to raise $3 million to purchase the house and turn it into a historical museum.
Here's a tip. Stopping crime isn't just for cops and detectives. In Middlesex County, it's a community initiative. Here's Jennifer Amato.
A County Crime Watch association has proven its worth to the community. Since the inception of Middlesex County Crime Stoppers in May 2011, there have been approximately 335 tips received, 10 of which have led to arrests. Crime Stoppers is a good resource for law enforcement personnel, since residents tend to be the eyes and ears of the community. Tipsters may call, text, or email what they know while remaining anonymous. Those who provide valid tips that lead to an arrest are entitled to cash rewards. For more information, see your local Greater Media newspaper.
For more in-depth coverage and additional stories, see your Greater Media newspaper today. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Greater Media Broadcast News. This is Susie Shia. Thanks for tuning in.